Stugotz here for 1-800-Flowers. Nothing makes a summer birthday more magical than a vibrant bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Just picture the look on your birthday girl's face when she sees her gorgeous bouquet being delivered. Whether she's at home, work, or school, no one can deliver a smile like 1-800-Flowers. And right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for just $29.99, 1-800-Flowers will give you another dozen plus a vase absolutely free. That's a 50% savings, 50% off the original price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness and your friend or loved one's amazement. They make a great surprise for birthdays or even just because. A dozen multicolored roses for just $29.99 plus another dozen and a vase for free is an amazing offer, but it expires Friday. Every bouquet is backed by 1-800-Flowers' 100% smile guarantee. When it comes to planning the perfect birthday surprise, I don't settle for anything less than 1-800-Flowers.com. They are the best. To order a dozen multicolored roses plus an extra bouquet and a vase for just $29.99, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code Dan.
Decking, railing, lighting, furniture, fencing, framing. At Trex, we make the most in outdoor living because you deserve to get more from your life outdoors. So why not start bringing your ideas to life now with the brand that's engineering what's next? To learn more about all of the outdoor solutions Trex has to offer, or to find a local retailer or a certified Trex Pro deck builder near you, visit Trex.com. That's Trex.com.
We'll talk about Paul George in a second. I imagine just about every market in America is doing what this one is. We've got the pieces for a rental. You'll get here and we'll convince you. We'll convince you to stay here. Sacramento's doing it. Everybody's doing it. We've got the pieces for a rental.
But it's Sacramento. I mean, we have Riley. We have a culture. We have a history.
Okay. And I don't know what you'd have to give up to get him. I don't imagine that he's going to play the year in a Pacers uniform. Why would they do that?
They wouldn't.
The only team, really, that it would make a difference on is Cleveland.
Yeah, probably. Like a real difference? Like maybe win a championship type difference? Yeah, the Cavaliers.
Everybody else is going to have to wait for either LeBron to get old or LeBron to go to the Western Conference. But we'll get to that in a second. First thing I want to get to, though, is Stugotz. I don't normally see him nervous. And he's nervous about tomorrow's Paul Feinbaum situation. He is shameless. He is a little bit fearless, even though he's fearful. He's actually someone roiling with contradictions, right? Because he does come off as fearless, even though he's a hypochondriac.
Total hypochondriac. Overthink everything.
I mean, but doesn't seem to think at all. Like, it's a lot of contradictions here. And tomorrow, because he lost the bet, I'll be happy to take your Conor McGregor prediction bet at any point that you want to do that. Any point that you want to start the bidding on that, I'm happy to do it as well. Because you love to you get all wrapped up in these things and making these predictions that you fail to realize that you're usually taking a substantive underdog. And you don't care because you just want the attention. I'm making a bet. I got action.
What kind of odds am I getting on this?
I mean, we got to figure that out. Mine, if I take Floyd, I got to do something. I'll do the shark again.
Yeah, but what do I do?
I know. What do you do that's a 10th as bad as me laying naked on a shark?
Just get rid of one eyebrow.
Let me get through this week, and we'll discuss that week once I get through this week, because Dan is right. I'm not worried about the lie detector. That's not what's got me concerned. What's got me stressed out is tomorrow. And doing 4 hours looking exactly like Paul Feinbaum. My kids, because they're old enough now, and they're on all the social media, they are mortified by this. And I've been hearing about it the entire weekend. Mortified.
All right.
I'm mortified.
All right. Well, we'll get to that in a second. The internet's forever. So even though it's only 4 hours.
They started looking at, like, pictures from the last time I was bald, and they didn't like them. Now, they like, when the hair grew back to about an inch and a half, they liked that look. My wife doesn't like it at all, okay? She doesn't like it. She likes, you got hair, don't shave it. You have a nice head of hair, leave it alone. But my kids started looking back at the pictures yesterday on Father's Day, mocking me and begging me, actually asking me for Mike Ryan's number, saying that they didn't want to, they want to try to convince Mike to get me out of this. And I said, Mike doesn't care about you. You don't care about me. You don't care about my kids.
I finally found a way to. I finally found a way to trap the gods. Usually he gets on the line and he squirms, and we're waiting for 2 months. I just moved this thing full steam ahead, and he's stuck now. There's promos. It's a monster week for him. He can't turn his back on the bet now.
It's great. You did. You figured out a way. I mean, he'll figure out future slippery escape routes.
Oh, yeah, I got to adjust. But for this week,
move. Yeah, because tomorrow it is. Tomorrow, because he will. He'll procrastinate. Next thing you know, we won't be doing it until he actually looks for natural reasons like Paul Feinbaum. Because just his hair is falling out.
I mean, I'm headed that way.
So, Paul Feinbaum, if you don't know what he looks like, go ahead and Google it. And what other accents will the costume have, Mike?
Well, he's got to dress in a suit because Feinbaum's always dressed to the nines. He's going to wear the glasses, and I want the full visual because, like, we do a radio show, and Stugotz says your traditional headsets, but we have specially molded earpieces so you can get the full scope of the horseshoe. Nothing blocking the horseshoe on Tuesday.
The horseshoe is the cul-de-sac that Paul Feinbaum has atop his head. And so what they're going to do is they're just going to shave a little cul-de-sac of skin into Stugotz's head. He's going to be the worst kind of bald. We can agree that that's the worst kind of bald, right?
It's the worst kind of bald, yes. Now, I might look good in it. I have no idea. Like,
no.
I won the last bet because you were upset. Like, once I got down to being bald, you're like, wow, he looks pretty decent bald.
Nobody looks good. I mean, who looks good with that haircut? Give me.
Remember that show, Hunter? You remember that show?
I do. Yeah, Private Detective.
I think his name was Fred. Was it Fred Thompson?
Fred Dreyer. Fred
Dreyer. I actually think he looked pretty good.
No, but he didn't have it. I think you're misremembering that. I don't think that.
Am I?
We did this while you were gone. I think we figured out that Hulk Hogan is the only person that needs the horseshoe, and it works for him. Because if he's bald, like, it's not Hulk Hogan anymore.
Well, which one's worse? The clean cul-de-sac or the Jimbo Fisher, where you got a cul-de-sac with a little hair island in the middle? Put that on the poll, Guillermo. Which one's worse?
Hulk Hogan or the Jimbo Fisher?
Well, no, because people are going to say the Jimbo Fisher, and it's not going to have anything to do with the haircut because Hulk Hogan actually made that work and Jimbo Fisher does not. Because nobody can make that work.
Statham kind of makes it work because he has it really short, and it just looks like a 5 o'clock shadow all over his head.
Right.
Handsome.
Fred Dreyer, when he did Hunter, you're right. He actually had something close to a full head of hair. You could see the cul-de-sac forming, but later on in life, he decided just to cave in and go for it. He actually looked pretty good with it.
And I can see why you got confused, because Fred Thompson, also horseshoe, also looked good.
Yeah.
Did I tell you guys, Fred Dreyer, did I tell you guys my father's story about Fred Dreyer? Hunter was one of his favorite television shows. Guillermo, put it on the poll because we got a lot of young listeners. Do you know who Hunter is? Or do you know what Hunter is? So he's a former football player who becomes a detective. And this is the funny part of the story. So I'm on the TV show on Highly Questionable with my father, and they ask him what's his favorite TV show. And I guess on his behalf, Hunter. And my father looks at me and says, I don't know what show you're talking about. And I'm like, Dad, are you kidding me? Like, how could you be, you saw all of the episodes. You watched this throughout my childhood. It was basically the only thing that you were watching. And he's like, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And so, I get a little scared, because my dad's older. My grandfather at one point was, walking down Cayocha holding his underwear in his hand because he lost his head later in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I show my father a picture on my phone of Hunter. And this is what he blurts. Oh, yeah, that guy ate only salmon and dropped dead jogging.
He's still with us?
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is.
So what a weird thing.
So it might be like your grandfather, Dan.
Yeah.
So what a weird thing for my father to not know correctly.
Googling Fred Dreyer's salmon. Maybe you got half of this right.
All right, let's see. What are you finding here? Well, are you sure Fred Dreyer's still with
very
us?
much
No,
alive.
he is 70 years old, and he is still very much alive and looks good.
All right, let's see if my father has the salmon diet correct, though. Fred, you're Googling Fred Dreyer's diet?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing here about salmon.
How about fish? How about, is there another fish? Is there another fish? Apparently Fred Dryer would eat.
Is there a synonym for drop dead too while we're at it?
You will find something. I assure you, you will find something.
I mean, I'm searching everywhere.
Fred Dryer fish diet. Literally a blank screen on Google. I've never seen this before. Enter. Enter. Enter.
I'll look it up during the break.
Did you try salmon?
Anyway, so Mike Ryan wants Paul George.
Of course.
And I'm guessing South Florida probably wants him too. The NBA does this really well, Stugotz. As soon as their season ends, things like this make an appearance, and we start loving the transaction, even though getting you Paul George only gets you swept in the first round of the Eastern Conference.
Well, does it? Does Paul George, if the Heat get Paul George, does it get him past the first round of the Eastern Conference?
Of course, because you're not only adding Paul George, then Gordon Hayward's obviously going to sign here because we're the closest team to a championship outside of Golden State. And then look at you. You're in the finals. You're probably going 7 and a toss-up. It probably comes down to coaching, in which we're better at.
I'm sure that Riley will try and get in that game. I mean, everybody's going to try and get in that game. I don't know what it is that you have to give up for him if he wants to be a Laker. If you're the Cavs, right, you pull your whole roster over there and say anybody but 3 guys, right?
Yeah, but there's not much there after the 3 guys.
Yeah, I know there's not much there, but also Indiana doesn't have much in the way of leverage.
But can't you say, Stugotz, when you say there's not much there, the rest of Cleveland, is there much here in Miami?
Well, there's more here, I think, right?
Is there?
A higher pick.
I mean, Winslow, Tyler Johnson, a higher pick. I mean, guys like that, it's certainly more for a rental.
I don't even know if this organization's willing to part with a Dookie for a 1-year rental. Maybe. They were so weird about the Duke players here.
About not wanting to trade him?
Yeah.
Well, but that's not weird. That's Mickey Arison loves Coach K.
Josh McRobdus is still on this roster.
And what's his name? Nick Arison also, went to Duke, and that's at least in part why you got Shane Battier.
Would you do that? Would you give up Winslow and a first for a 1-year rental? No guarantee he extends. You just bring him into the culture.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
My man.
Why not?
But that's not enough. That's not. You need to.
Well, it might be though.
It might be enough if he's saying, "I'm not going to sign an extension," and Indiana's going to leave with nothing.
You need to match up salaries, though. I'm not even talking about enough in terms of. It's not enough in terms of what gets you Paul George,
right?
And it's not enough in terms of you got to make the salaries match up. It can't be Justice Winslow and take a bunch of crud.
I have to see.
Take the Josh McRoberts contract off our hands.
So it would have to be Tyler Johnson, wouldn't it?
Well, Tyler Johnson would probably a wing in there. I have to see. Maybe there's some sort of complicated stuff with trading somebody into space with that Bosch contract.
I'll tell you what, if I'm the Cavs and I have to give up Kevin Love because LeBron, it looks like he has 1 year left there, I think Paul George gives you a better chance of beating Golden State than Kevin Love does. No?
That's if you're all about beating Golden State.
Wait a minute. You're swapping out Kevin Love and you're putting in Paul George and you're going to just try and out small ball their death lineups and you're going to, is Paul George going to play the 4? Because he's reluctant to ever play the 4. So what are you going to do? You're going to try and out small ball them with no rim protectors, nothing?
I'm just thinking defensively it allows, you can put LeBron where you want to put LeBron, let him roam a little bit, and you can have Paul George and Kevin Durant.
I think the play has to be, if you're Cleveland, if you want to get in that game, which is they are otherworldly, that you've got to keep Kevin Love and add Paul George.
Right.
That's the only way to get in that game.
I just don't see how they do it, that's all.
Even for a 1-year rental, it's tough because, if you believe the rumors, it's off-season. Cleveland, if you have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, that still might be good enough in an Eastern Conference that looks like God knows what. That might be good enough to get you to the championship round.
What's Boston doing?
I never know.
Wheeling and dealing. Making moves. Positioning themselves. Riverboat gambler.
Gambling, I think, is what Mike wanted you to say.
I go with gambler. Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, Stugotz. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Don Batard.
The reason Stugotz is tired is because he is using every available outlet to, at all times, spew his sports opinions. He comes in here, I look up, and by way of hello, I've got his phone in my face recording me, asking me for opinions on things because he is insatiable.
Stugotz.
Yeah, I'm on television right now. This is the pizza. Oh, this is delicious. This is so good. Let me walk outside. Let me get on Facebook Live and Twitter Live. These are the peanut M&Ms. Oh, I forgot something. Let me go over here and grab a selfie stick. Let's do Facebook Live today. It's Facebook Live Friday.
It's all for the show, man.
That's what, yeah.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
So I imagine that the Miami Heat are going to try and get in this Paul George game, if I had to guess, because it's really hard for this kind of player to become available. And yesterday, Adrian Wojnarowski, who is not wrong about these things, reports that Paul George has told the Pacers he's not coming back after this year and that he'd prefer to go to the Lakers. This explains how and why Larry Bird just vacated that office a couple of months ago. He probably knew this was coming, took a side door. Never mind about this whole thing here.
Was way ahead of the curve on this one.
Larry Bird may have had some information as he snuck out the side door with his bad back, holding his bad back. Oh, gotta go. And so I don't think it's enough. I don't think Tyler Johnson, Justice Winslow, and a mid-first round pick is enough, either as players or the contracts matching up. You'd have to throw some other things in there. But I was wrong about what it would take to land Goran Dragic because I didn't think they had anything to get Goran Dragic either. And I didn't think that package that they sent them with Danny Granger and a bunch of other people would get Goran Dragic. But if the Pacers want young players, that's what the Heat has. The worst shooter in the league, true efficiency, Justice Winslow.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting growth prospect to watch because the game changed underneath Winslow's feet. You can't be in today's NBA not being able to shoot.
No, you can't. And he's a terrible shooter. Can he get better? I mean, he's only 21, so.
Yeah, he could get better at it, but that doesn't bode well. In today's NBA, a wing player who can't shoot is less valuable than a wing player who can't shoot has probably ever been.
Stinks because he can do everything else really well. Everything else. He can defend, he can handle, he can pass, he can drive the lane. He just can't shoot. You can't trust him with a wide-open shot. And honestly, that was the biggest difference with the Miami Heat. Pre-Winslow injury and post-Winslow injury, they took off when it was guys like Ellington taking the wide-open three instead of Winslow.
But wouldn't Indiana want young players? Like, Indiana's not going to want what Cleveland has. They're not going to want Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith back. They're not going to want...
No.
They're going to want young players. Does Cleveland have any of those? Cleveland doesn't have any of those, right? Because you're still doing this, Stugotz. The only reason it might be enough is because you have no guarantees after this year. You're basically sending them some young pieces you have, and then it's Riley betting on Riley, his ability to close Paul George and convince him, if you've been here 1 year, we can offer you the big contract. We're not that the bbig contract seems to matter to him because he's
passing it up by leaving Indiana. But I would do it for a year just because that's the main reason I would do it. I would take my chances with Riley being around that guy for a year and selling him on staying in Miami.
I just don't. Here's what's the issue to me, right? Because I don't think Justice Winslow, Tyler Johnson in a package is going to be enough. But I'd be getting rid of a guy that I didn't think I'd have in the first place, that fell to me in the draft at number 9, and Tyler Johnson, till the very last minute, they were not going to match that. He was going to be a Brooklyn Net, and then a bunch of different things happened, and they're like, okay, we'll keep him as an asset for this kind of situation. We'll keep him as an asset. At the very last minute, they decided they were torn on Tyler Johnson. There was not a consensus. You know, they've got 5 votes in the building. Riley has the last vote, but there are 5 votes in the building. And they were not by consensus. They were 3-2 on Tyler Johnson, and they decided to do it. But so that's not giving up very much for a Paul George, even for a chance at Paul George long term.
I agree. It's why I think most Heat fans think they should probably do something like that.
But why would that be enough is what I'm asking you.
Well, first off, there's only a handful of teams that are going to be willing to trade for Paul George. It's got to be a team that's like the Heat, who think that their culture and Pat Riley can convince them. It's not going to be a team like Sacramento. They're so far away. Or it's got to be a contender.
Are the Lakers one of them? Lakers have the young...
No, if I'm the Lakers, I don't trade for him. I mean, he basically said, I'm going to stay here one more year and probably go to the L.A. Lakers. So if I'm Magic Johnson, I just sit back and wait for him to come to me.
Yeah, it'd be foolish to trade for him because then you got a Melo situation in which you're giving up a lot of assets that would make your franchise that more, more attractive to other free agents.
But you're going to give Riley that opening then. You're Magic Johnson, and you're going to give Riley that opening.
You see, that's interesting because Magic knows Riley so well and knows the power of Pat Riley. So do you get worried? Is there a team that the Lakers would be most worried about? Maybe it's the Heat because of Pat Riley?
Maybe it's a Heat. Maybe it's a Heat.
So then maybe you do, Dan. It's a great point. I didn't think about that.
Well, they've got the young pieces. They have more valuable young pieces than the Heat do.
Yeah, on the surface, in terms of like guys that you drafted high, like we'll find out if Ingram turns out to even be a player, that even turns out to be a Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson, at this point in his career, has been a more effective player than Brandon Ingram.
Well, Magic did recently say that everyone's available with the exception of Ingram. That he'd be willing to trade anyone in the right deal with the exception of Brandon Ingram. So D'Angelo Russell's there.
Well, D'Angelo Russell by himself is more valuable than what you'd be sending them in Justice Winslow and Tyler Johnson.
Correct.
Just D'Angelo Russell is more valuable.
Just that, you're saying. Mm-hmm. Russell for George.
And again, the contracts need to match up. Like, we're sitting here just doing this thing that sports radio always does, which is, I wonder about this guy, hot stove, and then we don't see he's got a big contract. And Mike's right when he says, I don't know. See, because this becomes a different trade. Do you do this if it means you have to give up the Chris Bosh salary space? 1 for 1. Like if you have to, I don't even know. I don't know the technicalities on this. I don't know, and forgive my ignorance on this. I don't know how the salary cap works in terms of making the contracts match with Chris Bosh's contract. I don't know how the injury exemption works. If you just get that money back in a slot and then can trade the money back, I don't know the answer.
Except
to
a player in a space. We have seen NBA trades, like Philadelphia, for one, has just collected assets by just trading players in a space.
Let's say that's right. Let's say it's right for the purposes, and forgive, again, my ignorance on this. Let's say it's right that you could trade the spot for Paul George, for a year of Paul George. Do you do that?
Wow. Yeah, I'd probably do it. I mean, it's Paul George, man, 27 years old, and entering that prime, and you got Riley. Yeah, I'd probably do it. Yes.
Yeah, and there you're putting forth a worst-case scenario where he leaves, you get nothing, but you do get the space back. You can use that space once he's off your books.
Yeah, I just don't know how much you give up for him because I don't know what it's going to take to get him, but I imagine this is a conversation that's going to be playing out over the next couple of weeks because Woj is reporting that Indiana already called Cleveland. Hey, you want Paul George? What are you willing to give for him?
Yeah, Indiana's probably doing that to see if they can get, Kevin Love. I mean, they gotta. That'd be a hell of a trick if they can squeeze off, a Kevin Love for Paul George on a one-year rental.
You think so?
I mean, that's where you go there fishing for, and then you got to see if they're dumb enough to budge.
I can't imagine that they'd give up Kevin Love for 1 year of Paul George, but you're playing again to keep LeBron.
Of course.
But I'm saying you're playing again. You cannot go, if you go into this next season with some semblance of what it is that just lost in the finals, you're going to have the same LeBron that Miami had in the last year of LeBron when they were trying to keep him with Granger and Josh McRoberts.
Right.
He's going to get real restless. He's going to start looking around if you do not show him through management, even if it's a panicked move. Show him through management that you're playing for this year, that this is the year that you are playing for. You're not playing for 2 years from now, that you're all in on this season and the ability to keep him, that's why the first call from Indiana is to Cleveland, because they know that too.
Yes.
But what does Cleveland have?
Nothing. I mean, if they're not willing to part ways with Kevin Love, it's impossible unless they want to get draft picks that are way down the road. like way down the
No,
road.
but those draft picks aren't worth anything right now.
No, of course, right. So you have to be willing to give up Kevin Love.
Do you?
I would.
Well, that's a question. We don't know the answer to that, do you? Because we don't exactly know what the market is, other than reports that there is a market for a rental.
Oh, but Mike, Kevin Love has to be the best. If that's out there, that has to be the best offer available.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Well, no, I would say they would definitely have the best offer if they dangle Kevin Love, if they're willing to pull the trigger on that.
So now you're Magic again, because you made a great point with Magic allowing Riley to be here. I mean, allowing Paul George to be here with Pat Riley for a year. Do you allow Paul George to be with LeBron James for a year if you're Magic? Do you start throwing D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle?
This will test Magic's patience, and this is what happened with Carmelo Anthony, where eventually the Knicks did give up stuff, and Carmelo ended up going to that team, but that team had been hollowed out, right. And then you end up wasting the Carmelo years in New York because you had to trade for him when he would have been there eventually on his own. But that's an interesting question. Can you be that kind of patient? And my guess would be that Magic Johnson, and this is where some of this stuff happens in dark shadows and in corners, Magic Johnson is going to know. What Paul George intends to do,
right?
He's going to know it. He's going to make sure that he is getting word, even though it is tampering, and he is going to make sure that he knows what Paul George is doing in 2018.
If the Lakers don't make an offer for Paul George, you get the feeling that Magic knows he's coming anyway.
Right, and then it still becomes, though, are you willing to trust what you know and what Paul George told you being around Pat Riley for a year?
I honestly don't know how the league hasn't stepped in already on the Lakers Paul George stuff. Disgusting displays of tampering just on Jimmy Kimmel alone. Paul George's favorite player is Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's going to be working out with Paul George, just working him the entire time to get him to Los Angeles. Obviously, Kobe Bryant's ex-agent is now the general manager of the Los Angeles Lakers. It is just way too shady, and transparently so. Why isn't somebody doing something about this?
Well, help me understand something here. Do you guys have any theories? One of the things that I always like to try to track is who benefits from a leak. Why did this come out yesterday? Woj reported it.
Right.
Why does he know it? Who gave it to Woj?
Well, the team that benefits from a leak right now would probably be Indiana. It was weird timing because I don't know if you read the comments from Paul George on Saturday morning. They were super positive.
Well, but all he did was state facts, though. I'm committed to the Pacers for a year. I'm a Pacer.
I had a great conversation with Kevin Pritchard. We're going for it this year. And then next, like you could see probably if I were just like seeing what leaked out, Pritchard and the Pacers being like, the hell out of here. We know what this is. Let's go leak this out to Woj, and let's get our best offers possible, and let's try to create a frenzy before the draft.
Right before the draft. It is the Pacers.
I would say they benefit the most from a bidding war.
Did Paul George do him a favor? Like, just knowing that, is that...
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes, Carmelo could have done that, should have done that, may have done that for all we know.
But George could have done it better, right?
What's the better way to do it?
He didn't have to say, I'm probably going to the L.A. Lakers. He didn't have to say that.
Well, wait a minute. He didn't say, I mean, that's private.
That's the report that's out there.
Okay, what's the right way to do this? Explain to me the right way to do it.
I'm leaving Indiana next year.
Publicly?
I don't know where I'm going. I am not playing
publicly.
Well, however he wants to do it. Just take the Laker portion out of it, if possible.
But all it said was preference. It didn't say, I'm going to the Lakers. It just, the report was he prefers the Lakers.
Right, but if you have the feeling that it's a one-year rental, and if you didn't have that feeling, my feeling is that they would probably the Pacers would be able to get a lot more from other teams.
But wait a minute, you're assuming that in any of these phone calls that's not coming up in conversation, that somebody's going to get blindsided. Like anyone who signs him for a year is going to want a commitment beyond that.
You're also assuming that with a story of this magnitude that Woj is only getting his information from one place. He takes his information and he goes to Paul George's representatives, and that's where you probably get the Lakers involved, because it doesn't benefit the Pacers to say he's signing with the Lakers, because that limits your options, because then it becomes obvious it's a rental.
I would guess that if Miami's in play for Gordon Hayward, as everyone's reporting, that they will be in play for this. They'll try to get in play for this. But I feel like that's happening in a lot of markets right now. I feel...
It's a different market, though, Dan. We've done it.
Yeah, but why wouldn't Boston be saying right now, look, we're maneuvering. We just got all these picks. Why wouldn't Boston be saying right now?
Boston is.
Yeah.
What are they doing? can we just end every segment asking that question without answering it? What are they doing?
Well, what my best theory on what Boston is doing is they're going to wait it out until the LeBron window's closed.
So that you don't think they're collecting assets to trade? They're going to use all these draft picks, and then by the time LeBron's out, they're going to be great.
I think they're building a team for 2020.
But then why wouldn't you take Fultz?
Well, they don't think Fultz is good.
I mean, he's a number 1 overall pick, dude. The other picks aren't a guarantee. Not like typically in the history of the NBA, like your best bet is a number 1 overall.
I love this, and I love sports radio, and I love you for doing it. You and I combined have watched Markelle Fultz play 0 minutes. The Celtics had him in his gym.
I find out 6 weeks ago that they won 9 games with that dude. How? I mean, let's find that coach and fire him again. Like that Washington coach who won 9 games with this guy that none of us have seen play, that everyone is telling us is great. You won 9 games. But 9? I mean, if you win 18 with that guy, you're still having an underachieving season.
Correct.
9. Show me some other teams that won 9 games last year. Name some of the teams that won more games than Washington won with this Fultz kid that we all discovered about 2 months ago. You're going to find some funny names here of teams that won.
I can't get to him soon enough.
More than 9 games. I mean, 9, you throw in a couple of those out-of-conference games that are just there as schedule fluff.
Stony Brook won more.
You're going to find a bunch. 9 isn't. I mean, it's so hard to win only 9 games. Who the hell they beat? Did they beat anybody in their conference? Did they win a single game in their conference?
Yeah, because if they have like one marquee win, then you're like, all right, Fultz won that game against Arizona, you know? Let's see if they have a single marquee win.
I'm checking on it.
Marquee win? They're not going to have any marquee wins when they won 9 games.
They beat Northern Arizona, the tournament team, I believe.
Arizona, Northern Arizona.
They beat Kentucky, Western Kentucky. They beat Michigan.
Oh.
Western Michigan.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Don Batard.
Is The Undertaker the best name in the history of wrestling? 66% of the audience said yes.
No, you're just wrong, man. It's a monsoon of gorillas.
Stugotz.
It's not just a monsoon. It's not just a gorilla. It's a monsoon of gorillas. How could there be a better name than Gorilla Monsoon? Like, how could you people be so wrong about this? What is the matter with you people? The Undertaker cannot be a better name than Gorilla Monsoon. A monsoon, not a tsunami, not a storm, not a thunderclap. A damn monsoon of gorillas.
It's a haystack of Calhouns.
Wow.
Not as impressive as a monsoon of gorillas.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
John Stewart's going to join us 10:15 Eastern, 1.5 hours from now.
Exciting for you, huh? This is a guy you've wanted on the show for many years.
I really
you love John
like
Stewart.
him.
Yeah.
I hope, I don't mean to be negative about this, I hope that the space isn't confining because it's a short interview and he's joining us with a wounded warrior. It's the cause that he is raising awareness for, and it means a lot to him. So we're going to have to talk to, is it a he or a she who is moving around with him?
He. RJ.
RJ, yeah.
Yeah, he's participating in the Warrior games.
Yep. Want me to get out of the way on this one? I mean, I've done this before where I know it's a guy that you want, and I'll tell you that I get out of the way, and then I pepper you with like 9 questions within the first 2 minutes.
You never get out of the way on that.
But I know how important this is to you, and I am willing to step aside and get out of the way on this interview.
It doesn't matter. It's not that important.
Well, I mean, you got a difficult thing to balance here. There's 2 guys there. You're probably going to have to ask RJ a token question, and then you got Stewart, and I'm willing to get out of the way because you only got about 7 or 8 minutes.
But I don't believe you is the thing, because you always do this. You always say, I'm willing to get out of the way, and then your first question sent to me via email every time is like, do you like sandwiches?
Yeah.
And you need to get in there with the question of how much do you like sandwiches? And then, and then the interview's over because the guy's talking about how much he likes sandwiches. And then, all right, nice to see you. Yeah. Good seeing you, John. Thank you for being on with us.
Good conversation starter. It is. I mean, Do you like sandwiches?
Who doesn't like sandwiches?
Oh, there are
other
certain
than Fred Dreyer. Who doesn't like sandwiches?
You don't eat sandwiches.
I know, but it's not because I don't like them.
Well,
Right.
look, if Stugotz asks you that, it leads to an interesting answer, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, listen, this time I'm serious, though. I will step aside. It's Jon Stewart, man. Like, what am I going to lend to the conversation? You guys are smart and witty, and I'm just,
We'll see.
Stugotz.
We'll see. So,
All right, I'm out.
that's 10:15.
Won't hear a peep from me.
Paul George is in play, and no one like him is in play. That's one of the reasons that the NBA does this so well, and the transaction is such an interesting part of the summer. If I tell you of all the guys who are available, you'd rather have Paul George. Paul George is not merely the most valuable guy. Wouldn't you rather have right now, if I tell Heat fans, I can guarantee you either a year of Paul George, or I can guarantee you that you're the team that's going to get Hayward.
I take the year of George.
But I'm getting several years of Hayward.
Correct.
He's signing a long-term
Correct.
deal.
You're getting 4 years of Hayward.
Oh, I'm guaranteed the 4 years of
Yes.
Hayward, and I'm only
Yes.
getting 1 year of
Yes.
PG?
That's the way to do
Oh,
it.
no,
yes.
wait a minute. No. You're getting 1 year of PG guaranteed.
Okay.
And
then
then
I
you're
can convince
getting the
him.
possibility of being able to sign him long term. You'd be betting, what you're betting on there is Riley.
Correct.
You're betting on, but you'd rather have Paul George in your uniform for the next 4 years than Gordon Hayward.
You're betting on Riley. You're betting on culture. You're betting on city.
Right, and I'm going to be an annoying Heat fan, and I'm just going to say both. That's what they've done, man. You can't invite me to a pep rally in an arena where LeBron promises me 8 championships and think that I can't get both just 4 years removed from that.
It's a great point. Everything after that's a letdown.
Here we go again. Here we go. Who else do you want? Go ahead. Who else?
No, I'm cool with just those two this year.
And Blake too? Not Blake too?
Well, we'll see if we have the space for him. I mean, you can't just take a hatchet to this core.
Here we go. Here we go.
And we got CP3. If he says, "Hey, what's going on over there?"
Yeah, I'll take.
Well, at least we get a meeting, just a meeting. I just want to take the meeting.
I regret all of this. I regret bringing any of it up because now what it's going to birth is the forever sports radio conversation of, do you think we could get Gordon Hayward and Paul George for Josh McRoberts? We'll give you Josh McRoberts.
Do you think that team, George, Blake, Gordon Hayward, Whiteside's still here, are they good enough to beat the Cavs?
Cavs?
Cavs, maybe.
You thought I was going Warriors.
Yeah,
Let's do
not
the
Warriors.
Cavs first.
It's still not good enough. It's
Warriors it goes 6.
So you realize if Riley got all the people from whatever his dream scenario is, it's still not good enough.
They can get hurt, man. Yeah. Steph Curry ankles. I mean, 7-footer that's had foot injuries over there in Golden State.
Yeah.
They got to go through a tough West.
Yep. Draymond kicks some people.
Draymond can get suspended.
Hold on. Let's think about this for just a second. If Riley grabs everyone in his fictitious dreams, you're still an underdog.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anything can happen.
Yeah. You have Dragic, George.
Oh, come on. We're probably going to have to, let's be realistic. We're probably going to get rid of Dragic if we get everybody else. I mean, it's fine.
Well, are you including Paul and everyone else?
Everybody. Just everyone.
Oh, we
who's
can get
available.
everybody?
Yeah, no,
Everybody.
he's telling you can have everyone.
Everybody's available. Anybody who's been a trade call has been made on.
So, Mike, here's what I'm telling you. You have Chris Paul at the point, okay?
Ooh.
You have Gordon Hayward at the 2. You have Paul George at the 3. Blake at the 4. Whiteside at the 5. Are you beating the Warriors?
Warriors open that series as a minus 300 favorite.
It's funny. It's
Minus 300.
that is how far
For the
behind
series.
everybody you are. That's how far ahead of everybody they are, too.
Light years, you would say.
Ugh.
He was right.
But it's something to talk about. Let's talk to Guillermo. Guillermo, you're mad at the Marlins for losing 2 out of 3 at Atlanta. At the end of that series was amazing. Did you see any of this, Stugotz?
No.
Oh, this is funny. Let me describe this to the audience. So, I just learned that Brandon Phillips is a Brave.
What?
The last couple of days.
Really?
Yeah. Was he with them last year, too? Oh, it was just this offseason, right? So I just learned Brandon Phillips is a Brave because he's had 2 consecutive walk-off hits. First player to do that for the Braves in 3 decades. 3 decades, a Brave has not done that. 2 consecutive walk-off hits that he hit in exactly the same place. But the Marlins were ready for it.
They were not ready for it.
No,
but
wait
go
a minute. On. They were ready for it. Last night, men on first and third, because the bullpen coughed up another game. Phelps.
Phelps should never pitch on the road, by the way. Just saying. Like, his road ERA is 7, his home ERA is 1. How about just leave him at home? Never pitch on the road.
Don't even let him travel?
Don't travel with the team.
Don't bring him on the plane.
Just chill, relax, rest a little. Don't pitch on the road.
Forward thinking.
Yes.
So listen to this, Stugotz. So the Marlins, they first and third, tie game, bottom of the ninth. Bullpen hemorrhaging again. The Marlins, because there's one out, say, Ozuna, come stand on the second base bag. So now center field is wide open. Your center fielder is standing at second base because they're trying to turn the rare 4-8-6-3 double play.
Ozuna's a left fielder, but that's irrelevant.
Okay, yes, thank you. So
there's a 7 in there now.
Okay, now there's even weirder. It's not a 4-8-6-3 double play. It's a 4-7-6-3 double play. So Ozuna's at second base, and he's just standing there, and it seems like he and D. Gordon are still there right now arguing, right now, that they're still over the second base bag because they don't know how to play this particular position.
They've never practiced that, by the way. They could have held hands. They were so close to each other.
Nobody knew what they were supposed to be doing. And so immediately what happens? Ground ball right up the middle.
Slow roller?
Very slow roller.
Very slow roller. And that Riddle guy.
Magic and D were just looking at each other, so it just rolled right between the two of them. I heard the Braves call of it today. They were like laughing at the Marlins.
I know, because everybody was just staring at the dribbler that went into center field. It went like, because Ozuna doesn't know how to play this second base, hovering over second base position.
Who's Magic?
Who is Magic?
Magic Shady Riddle. We went over this a while ago. You guys don't need to pay attention.
Magic Riddle?
Yeah, his nickname's Magic.
Does anybody call him that?
A couple people tweet me Magic when he does something good, because I was at a season ticket holder meeting and a woman said he was Magic and they needed to call him back up. And sure enough, he's done magical things since. He's Magic.
Okay.
Never has a nickname been more devalued than the one that went from Irvin Johnson to that Riddle guy. Like, never has a nickname taken a more precipitous fall than that one. Magic Riddle. That sounds like a board game I wouldn't even buy. I wouldn't even buy that if I was at the store and drunk and I needed a board game to play with my friends and that was the only one on the shelf. Magic Riddle. I'm leaving it there. I'm staring at it. The way he stared at the ground ball that went right up the middle yesterday.
How about this other nickname that I've heard for him and D. Gordon, the Riddler and Commissioner Gordon? They're not good though, so it's a cool nickname, but they're not really great.
Not that cool. You like that as a nickname, the Riddler and Commissioner Gordon?
I love it. I think it's great. Yeah.
His name is Riddle,
yeah.
so you make
Riddler. Yeah, I like that. The Riddler. Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon.
We should have won both those games. Like, this was prime time to fatten up on the Braves. We would have been 3 under, right back in it, and instead we lose to 7 under again.
Well, haven't they done nothing but lose to the Braves the last 2 years? The Braves are terrible, and haven't they just done nothing but lose to the Braves the last couple of years?
I mean, yeah. We need to beat these teams, Dan. Like, what's going on? Yeah. What's going on? And by the way, Don Mattingly, I'm so sick of him. And you know this already. What was he doing on Saturday? He put A.J. Ramos in there to close the game. The bullpen blew that game. Put A.J. in there. He blew the 9th inning, blew the save. First blown save of the season only because, like, all his terrible games, he's never in a position to get a save. So that's why he doesn't have any blown saves. Whatever. So he blows the game in the 9th, gets lucky to get out of that inning, and then Don Mattingly sends him back out in the 10th. He got 1 out in that inning. Everybody knew we were going to lose that game, except Donnie Baseball, apparently. What has he done as a manager? Honestly, I'm not even joking. Well, like, I'm trying to be fair here.
Well, wait a minute.
What has he done as a manager?
You're not being fair about this. He put the guys in the correct position yesterday.
They've never tried that play before. They could have had all 7 guys on the infield, and they would have messed that up. They were looking at each other completely confused. Ozuna was like, me? What am I doing in the infield? He was completely confused as to why they were calling him in from the outfield. Nobody knew what the hell was going on there.
It's something you might want to work on before you actually do it in a game.
Exactly.
I mean,
this guy just pulls moves out, Dan, and I'm going to tell what I texted you.
No, I'm going to tell them what you did text me yesterday. This is what Guillermo, who insists on blaming Mattingly.
He's never done anything as a manager. He had all-star teams in L.A., did nothing with them.
Listen to
Go on.
This is because in keeping with this magic theme, thank you, Guillermo, for giving me the right to go on. I appreciate it. He sends me a text where he's blaming Mattingly. As soon as that ball squirts through the middle, he's like, he's like a magician. But instead of these long kerchiefs that are colorful that he's pulling out of his jacket, he's pulling large feces-covered ones right out of his...